We're here today at the International Business Festival to launch our report, Delivering the Goods, which identifies transport technologies and demonstrates just how far transport is moving in the next 5 to 10 years. Rolls-Royce anticipate that in 2020 there'll be crewless ships. Driverless cars are very much with us today, and with the exponential rise in online retail and home deliveries of groceries, electric vans are going to be with us in the next 5 years. That means no parking spaces in town centres, significant reduction of CO2 emissions, and high streets will change complexion, and we won't be recognising them as we do today. We're in the midst of a revolution, and a bit akin to the Industrial Revolution hundreds of years ago. And transportation as it is now, I think, will be unrecognisable in 10 to 20 years. It's hugely exciting to see what is available on the market, particularly with digitalisation. Train tickets, for example, for passenger transport, in about 5 years, 90% of ticketing will be digital, and you'll go on your train with your mobile phone and you'll plot your journey and you'll pay for that journey using the phone. So tickets are a thing of the past. So whilst drones carrying shipping containers are likely to be far off, and so too floating warehouses in the stratosphere, I do believe that drones are delivering goods and products to businesses and homes even now. So DWF's report, Delivering the Goods, looks into the commercial transport of the future. The report is groundbreaking. We interviewed 250 respondents, CEOs, CFOs, CIOs, to understand where they feel that technology is driving their businesses forward, and also understanding what they think is holding their businesses back, whether it's lack of investment, lack of talent, lack of skills, or lack of belief in these very exciting forms of transport innovation. These then have been identified as the greatest barriers to adoption of the innovation technologies in commercial transport that I've just isolated and looked at. So regulatory restrictions, so those are the legal frameworks that are impeding innovation. Talent or skills deficits, so lack of training, lack of apprenticeships and students studying transport technology. Aversion to risk, some companies just aren't willing to embrace technology. And also security concerns, data protection, with the scares that we've had recently. So in short, great change has already arrived in transport. In the past 3 years, digital disruption has become widespread. In the next 3 years, transport is set to become more autonomous, intelligent, and suited to user needs. So I think we're now going to pass over to the panel to put their own points forward on these subjects. Today we're going to be talking about transport technologies, including blockchain, electrification, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and we're also going to touch on those aspects of transportation that people seem to be genuinely interested in, like flying taxis, drones, autonomous vehicles, crewless ships. And we're going to speak about what is reality. So are those modes of transportation going to come to the fore in the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and precisely what they're going to look like?
Hyperloop is a bit of a radical step change to try to compare it to other modes of transport and how the innovation is being adopted. What I like seeing really is that there's cross modes of transport, or really not a mode of transport, but we more think about stages of the delivery that are adopting different technologies to improve the quality of service or the speed or price of service, such as drone delivery that you were talking about. So something that could not have been conceived of as being delivered via air. It was always thought that it has to happen on the ground. With increasing advancement of control systems and software and connectivity, suddenly became possible. And I'm really not sure, and I'm looking forward to finding out where these could become a thing, because who knows, perhaps container ships could be replaced by a massive conveyor belt between the UK and a different part of the world if it proves to be a cheaper and more environmentally friendly or a more sustainable solution long term.
It's important to talk about transportation logistics because it affects the lives of everybody. Anything you buy, anywhere you go, anything that really is part of your physical life has gotten there because somebody transported it. And so this is really how the economy works, and this is how our lives are affected. So it's, I think everybody should know something about it.
Andrea, from a sort of a more traditional B2B type business, how do you see sort of the customer shaping the adoption of technology?
We're very hardcore B2B. Have you ever seen those trucks with 2 levels and cars on top of it? That's a lot of what we do. We move 4 million cars a year, so it's very sexy. A lot of people ask me about it during cocktail hour. And so 5 or 6 years ago, customers were asking, can you do it a little bit cheaper, a little bit faster, a little bit better? And now they're still asking cheaper, faster, better, but guess what? Now trucks are supposed to be autonomous. Oh, by the way, the cars that go on top of it, so my freight is going to become autonomous. And so now they're starting to ask a lot of different questions. And at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that they don't ask that we actively research. I run the R&D in the company. We would have never gotten into a number of things we do, like, how do you prevent cyber attacks on vehicles? Customer would have never asked us that. We think that it's something that's going to be an emerging need, and so we want to be ahead of the trends. And so sometimes we just ignore what they ask, and we'll do what we think is right. And maybe sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong. I think it's exciting times. I think it's confusing times. I think it's difficult times. There's a lot of change, and everybody's guessing different things as to what the speed of change will be and what the actual change will be. And so I think we will see a lot of new business model emerging in the next few years, as they have, very recently. And is it going to be chaotic? Is it going to be orderly? Is it going to be a smooth transition, or we're going to see big disruptions? And so it's as a business person, we need to prepare for maintaining the business as it is and prepare for the business completely being turned upside down. So these are really interesting and challenging times, yes.
To close things out, I'm going to allow a bit of sort of future gazing. So if we were to look sort of maybe 5 to 10 years into the sort of horizon in terms of what is that technology which is going to excite you most?
I think applications of cybersecurity to autonomous vehicles would be a huge concern, and even before that with connected cars. And there's a whole economy that is going to develop around that, so I truly believe that. And analytics is really going to improve things more than on the margin, which is what we've done in the past. And again, I think that the dark side of that is going to be, how big does big data needs to be? Is there a smaller data that allows to balance business needs and privacy of citizens, and how do we strike that balance? And the entire construct of governments and law, I think it's going to be very interesting to watch.
Fantastic.
Hyperloop's part of it, of course, but I don't want to bore you, with just that. Something that I'll be super excited about with the increasing connectivity and changing technologies and this intermodality, to come up with a new standard of building block of the supply chain that once was a container, then you have delivery totes and all these other things. I think that one very important thing, which is not happening on the technology level, but more on the regulation level, is really the standardization and the way that information is flowing among different stakeholders in the supply chain. And more so than a specific technology, I think that's something that excites me the most. Perhaps I'm just guessing that it's happening, but if it's not, I guess it should be.
Excellent, excellent. Wonderful. And Luke?
I'm thinking 2 to 4 years is probably evolution rather than revolution, but progressive, rapid evolution at scale. What complete disruption and revolution looks like in the airline industry, we're constantly challenging ourselves on that all the time. But I think if you take a collection of all of the things that we've touched on briefly and just keep delivering them and delivering them well, we're talking about personalized service, speed, efficiency, particularly in our industry at times of disruption. We're operating at high capacities. Everybody knows that Heathrow is completely full. A bit of rain, strong wind, snow, it knocks everything off. So the ability to manage that and do it really well, I think is where we'll break through from a service perspective.
It's interesting to have so many different perspectives. We had somebody from Hyperloop, somebody from the airlines business, a lawyer that does it with international travel, and I am in trucking and logistics. So all modes of transportation represented, all different perspectives, some B2B, some B2C. So I thought it was a very good discussion.
I suppose it's the romantic in me, but I'm looking at the actual mode of transport itself. And whilst driverless cars very exciting, it's the whole notion of crewless ships. So VLCCs, very large vessels, are almost the size of little cities. And just to have the notion of big ships sailing without crew, being operated by some port or harbour, able not to collide, no groundings, and also with the ability to deliver goods in any port around the world, I think is something that will happen, and obviously keeps me interested as well.
No, that certainly is an exciting vision for the future. Thank you very much for listening to us, and thank you very much for that panel. Those fascinating insights.
I hope that the report will identify how we can move forward to achieve a more seamless transport structure and systems that are more user-friendly and effective.